The emergency council chambers of the Galactic Federation buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 species gathered in unprecedented haste. Ambassador Zephyr, 9, a crystalline being from the ethereal collective, watched the holographic displays with growing unease. The data streaming across the screens told a story that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about the newest member species, humanity. "The readings cannot be correct," declared Counselor Thrak, his reptilian features twisted in disbelief. The Vorthan military commander had seen warfare across 3 galactic quadrants, but the numbers before him defied logical explanation. No single species could demonstrate such tactical innovation in mere cycles. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat quietly in the human observer section, her calm demeanor masking the storm of emotions within. As humanity's chief military liaison, she had warned the Federation about underestimating her species. Now, watching the alien dignitary struggle to comprehend what humans were truly capable of, she felt a mixture of pride and concern. The crisis had begun 3 standard months ago when the hegemony, a militant alliance of insectoid species, had declared war on the peaceful Altarian colonies. The Altarians, gentle herbivorous beings who had never known conflict, faced extinction within days. Their desperate plea for aid had reached the Federation Council, but military analysts predicted any rescue mission would require at least 2 years to plan and execute. Humanity had offered an alternative timeline, 72 hours. The Federation's response had been polite skepticism. Humans are the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, barely 3 decades beyond their first warp drive. Their military experience was limited to their own planet's conflicts. What could they possibly offer that the combined wisdom of ancient civilizations could not? Everything as it turned out. Captain Marcus Chun had led the human expeditionary force with a crew of just 800 volunteers aboard 3 modified cargo vessels. The ships themselves were unremarkable by galactic standards, lacking the elegant biotech of the Zephyrians or the quantum matrices of the Technosynthesis Union. What they carried instead was something far more dangerous: human tactical thinking. The hegemony had established a blockade around Altair Prime, using traditional siege doctrine. Their massive dreadnoughts formed concentric rings around the planet, each layer providing overlapping fields of fire. It was a textbook formation, one that had proven effective for millennia. The hegemony commanders felt secure in their overwhelming numerical advantage. They had never encountered humans before. Chen's first action violated every principle of conventional space warfare. Instead of attempting to break through the blockade, he had his ships retreat to the system's asteroid belt. The hegemony forces tracked this movement with satisfaction, interpreting it as the expected human surrender. Their formation remained intact, patient predators waiting for the inevitable capitulation. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. The asteroids themselves became weapons. Human engineers had spent decades perfecting kinetic bombardment systems for their own planetary conflicts. In space, with minimal gravity wells to overcome, the mathematics became even more elegant. Chen's teams had worked around the clock, attaching simple thruster packages to selected asteroids and calculating trajectories with ruthless precision. The first impacts came without warning. Asteroids moving at significant fractions of light speed struck the outer ring of hegemony vessels with devastating effect. The insectoid crews had no time to react, no opportunity to adjust formation. Physics became humanity's ally, turning mass and velocity into an unstoppable force. But the genius lay not in the initial strike, but in its timing and coordination. Each impact was calculated not just for maximum damage, but for maximum disruption. Debris clouds created sensor shadows. The destruction of key vessels opened specific gaps in the formation. The hegemony found their perfect siege broken into isolated clusters, each vulnerable to the follow-up phase of Chen's plan. The second wave struck from an entirely different vector. While the hegemony reeled from the asteroid bombardment, human infiltration teams have been moving through space in suits designed for maximum stealth. They attached mining charges to the hulls of surviving vessels, not to destroy them, but to disable specific systems. Engines went offline. Weapon arrays failed. Communication arrays went silent. In the span of 6 hours, a blockade that should have taken years to break had been reduced to floating debris and disabled hulks. The Altarians were evacuated within the promised 72 hours. Now, 3 months later, the Federation Council struggled to understand what they had witnessed. The holographic recordings played on endless loops, but the tactical innovations seemed to defy analysis. Traditional military doctrine had no framework for such unconventional thinking. Their approach is completely illogical, insisted Admiral Corvash of the Stellar Navy. His bioluminescent patches flickered with agitation as he gestured at the display. They sacrificed positional advantage, ignored established fleet formations, and used civilian mining equipment as military assets. By every tactical manual in the database, their strategy should have failed catastrophically. Elena finally stood, her movement drawing the attention of the assembled delegates. The human section of the chamber was small, reflecting their species' recent admission to galactic society. But the weight of recent events had given humanity's voice new significance. With respect, Admiral Corvash, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation matrices. You're applying the wrong analytical framework. Human military thinking doesn't follow your tactical manuals because we developed our strategies under completely different conditions. The ethereal collective's representative shimmered with curiosity. Explain this difference, human Elena. What conditions shaped your species' approach to conflict? Elena activated her personal holographic projector, displaying images of Earth's varied terrain and climate zones. Every other species in this chamber evolved on worlds with relatively uniform conditions. Your conflicts developed along predictable lines because your environments were stable, your resources distributed evenly, your adversaries similar to yourselves. The images shifted to show Earth's diverse biomes and geography. Humans evolved on a world of extreme contrasts. Deserts bordered jungles. Mountain ranges isolated populations. Ocean barriers created separate civilizations. We didn't fight one type of war, we fought dozens of different types of warfare simultaneously. She gestured to a tactical display showing various human conflicts throughout history. Arctic warfare, jungle fighting, desert campaigns, urban combat, mountain operations, naval battles, air superiority, guerrilla tactics, siege warfare, mobile formations, static defenses. We mastered them all because we had to. Our planet forced us to become adaptable. Counselor Thrak leaned forward, his scaled features intense with concentration. You suggest this diversity created superior tactical thinking? I suggest it created different tactical thinking, Elena corrected. We learned early that conventional approaches often fail when conditions change. So we developed a military philosophy based on adaptation, improvisation, and the creative use of available resources. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The asteroid bombardment wasn't a desperate gambit. It was standard human doctrine. Use the environment as a weapon. The infiltration teams weren't acting outside established protocols. They were following human special operations procedures developed over centuries of asymmetric warfare. Dr. Zain al-Rashid, the Federation's chief xenobiologist, activated his own display. I've been analyzing human military history since the Altair incident, he announced. The pattern Elena describes is consistent across their entire recorded timeline. Humans consistently defeat larger, better-equipped forces through tactical innovation. The displays showed battle after battle from human history. Small forces defeating massive armies through superior positioning, timing, and creative thinking. Naval battles won through innovative use of wind and weather. Air campaigns that succeeded by attacking enemy logistics rather than military assets directly. In every case, al-Rashid continued, Humans identified assumptions their enemies were making and then violated those assumptions. They don't just think outside established tactical frameworks. They actively seek to destroy those frameworks. Ambassador Zephyr 9's crystalline form pulsed with concern. This suggests their military thinking is fundamentally predatory. They view warfare not as a contest of strength, but as a hunt. Elena nodded slowly. That's not entirely wrong. Human military doctrine emphasizes identifying enemy weaknesses and exploiting them ruthlessly. We study our opponents not to match their strengths, but to find ways around them. The admission sent ripples of unease through the chamber. Most galactic species approached warfare as a formal contest with established rules and procedures. The idea of deliberately seeking unfair advantages was conceptually alien. But surely, protested diplomat Keening Song of the Harmonic Alliance, such approaches violate the fundamental principles of honorable combat. The question hung in the air like a challenge. Elena looked around the chamber, seeing the mixture of fascination and fear in the assembled representatives. These beings had built a galactic civilization based on cooperation and mutual understanding. The revelation that humanity's greatest strength lay in systematic tactical deception was clearly disturbing. Honor is relative, Elena replied carefully. Humans define honorable combat as doing whatever is necessary to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The Altarians faced extinction. In human thinking, any action that prevented their genocide was not just acceptable, but morally required. Admiral Corvash's bioluminescence shifted to deep red patterns. You speak of necessary actions, but your species' tactical preferences suggest something more troubling. This Captain Shun, did his actions stem from desperate circumstances or from ingrained behavioral patterns? Elena hesitated before answering, knowing her next words would shape humanity's relationship with the galaxy. Captain Shun is actually considered somewhat conservative by human military standards. His approach to the Altair crisis was methodical and restrained. The chamber erupted in shocked communications. Delegates spoke rapidly in their native languages, translation matrices struggling to keep pace with the overlapping conversations. The idea that humanity's galaxy-shaking tactical display had been restrained was clearly difficult to process. Dr. Al-Rashid's display shifted to show human military academies and training facilities. I've been granted access to human military education systems, he announced, his voice cutting through the chaos. Their officer training includes mandatory courses in what they call unconventional warfare, asymmetric tactics, and creative resource utilization. These are not specialized skills taught to elite units. They are fundamental requirements for all military personnel. The implications were staggering. The Federation was facing a species that didn't just produce occasional tactical innovators, but systematically trained every military officer to think in ways that violated galactic norms. Counselor Thrax stood slowly, his massive frame commanding attention. Human Elena, I must ask directly, if the hegemony threat had been greater, if the Altarians faced not just conquest but complete annihilation, would Captain Chin's response have been proportionally more creative? Elena met his gaze steadily. Captain Shun had contingency plans prepared that would have eliminated the entire hegemony fleet if necessary. The asteroid bombardment was his opening move, not his strongest option. The silence that followed was profound. Even the chamber's environmental systems seemed to quiet, as if the station itself was holding its breath. Ambassador Zephyr 9's crystalline structure flickered with rapid calculations. You're suggesting your species possesses military capabilities far beyond what we witnessed at Altair. I'm suggesting, Elena said quietly, that humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years on a planet that punished conventional thinking. We learned to win not through superior numbers or technology, but through superior adaptation. Captain Shun used mining equipment